2 Triple Crowns, and Sandy, you were denied. One guy trying to deny Wando today is Robert Landry.
That's right, Jeff. I've had a couple of tries at it. Unfortunately, I came up a little bit short. Wando is going for it today. I have Robert Landry here. Robert rides for sale in today's breeders. Rob, this horse is undefeated. He's won 2 in a row. Last time he won on the turf by 4 lengths, going a mile. Can he go a mile and a half?
Well, I think he can. I mean, everything's going to depend on the pace naturally, but you know, he's a perfect 2 for 2, and he's run well on the grass, and he's finished up strong last time. So I'm looking for a big race out of him.
Well, Wando is definitely the horse to beat in here. He's got a ton of speed. You have a lot of speed too. Both times you've been on the lead. What are your tactics here today?
Well, my horse runs on the lead. He's a free-running horse, and that's where he's going to be. And I mean, if that's where Wando's going to be, well, then it's gonna be a horse race from gate to wire.
Well, last year he finished second on a horse called El Soprano in the breeders here. Yeah, I guess you'd like to move that up 1 notch today.
Oh, for sure. You know, I mean, Wando's a great horse, and you know, I'd like to be the one that upsets him.
Well, good luck here in the 113th running of the breeders, Rob. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Back to you, Jeff.
Okay, Sandy, Robert's had a great year already. He won the Avelino Gomez Memorial Award and the Labatt Woodbine Oaks as well, so a Breeders' Stakes title would be nice in his pocket too. Let's meet now some of the contenders for today's feature event with racing analyst Jim Bannon.
For a horse that wins the first 2 jewels of the Canadian Triple Crown, the Breeders' Stakes is the gateway to greatness. With approval is Vestia, Dance Smartly, and Pete all move forward off their Triple Crown triumphs to tackle tougher foes and achieve greater fame. Many good horses have journeyed this far only to miss the Triple Crown. Scatter the Gold, L'Angelure, Northcliffe, Golden Choice. This afternoon, Wando will become the 7th horse to gallop through this gateway or be denied his place in the record books. 7 want-to-be spoilers and 1.5 miles of the E.P. Taylor turf stand in his way. Has trainer Mike Keogh tamed his speedy tendencies enough for this long-distance challenge? In his final tune-up for the Breeders' Stakes, Wando settled behind a workmate and moved by him willingly to record a 6-furlong time of 1:14. Should Wando falter, Gold will be at the doorstep and is itching to get back into the winner's circle. Trainer John Ross has been playing catch-up all summer, getting this handsome colt to the top of his game. Arcos Gold worked well on the turf in preparation for today's clash with Wando on the E.P. Taylor turf course. Horses from Sampson Farms are usually the hunted, not the hunters. Trainer Mark Frosted will send 3 of his promising young turf stayers to attempt the upset. Showwater competed adequately in the first 2 Triple Crown races, but the Breeders' Stakes has been his summer's major target. In his first lifetime start, this son of Smart Strike ran his heart out on the turf.
Noble and Showwater, they're running out of ground. Noble to win the Cup and Saucer.
Parasail is a full brother to Canada's newest sprinting sensation, Soaring Free. He has displayed talent, but his experience is limited.
Parasail to win the British Isles Turf Classic.
Colorful Judgment finished 3rd in a recent test of endurance. Should the late pace falter, he could make an impact.
Colorful Judgment to win it.
Strizzy figures to be last into the first turn, but he's certainly not the least likely Breeders' Stakes upsetter. If there's a war on the front end, his late power could be key. In the Toronto Cup Stakes, Strizzy closed in the stretch against a stiff headwind to be second to the very talented Mobile.
Strizzy was second.
Will Wando repel all challengers and conclude this year's Triple Crown with his own storybook ending? Or will he be stood up at the wire by his date with destiny?
Here's a look at the distance for today's feature race, the $500,000 Breeders' Stakes. 1.5 miles is one complete oval of the E.P. Taylor turf course. They start at the finish line and they will end at the finish line. Jim, this is the 3rd jewel of Canada's Triple Crown, and all kinds of stories going into this race. What are some of the stories you see?
Well, I see the challenges for Wando today, and they would be that he's running farther than before on testy ground and against some who are out to get him. Believe me, there are horses in here plotting to take him down. We'll see if Wando is good enough. And the second point, we've got Stronach Stables represented by the one Stritzy, and Sampson Farm represented by Colorful Judgment, Shoalwater, and Parasail, 3 horses. And these 2 big stables have terrific records in this classic, so you can't take them lightly. They're individuals that really get their horses cranked up with beautiful pedigrees. They get them ready for the big races, and these are the types of races they win. As a matter of fact, Team Stronach has won it twice already, and Sampson Farm, they have the most wins, 5, and won it last year with Portcullis by Smart Strike, and he is represented by 2 sons in this race.
Jim, we've touched on the points that a lot of these horses are going to struggle with this 1.5-mile distance. So how will they get there today? Do they need some help from their riders?
They will. I mean, all horses can run 1.5 miles. It's just a case at what velocity. Now, we know that these horses will be struggling a bit through the stretch. The turf is listed as firm, but it has some give to it. We've had inordinate rain over the last few days here in southern Ontario, but we've had 2 drying days. You talk to anybody here at the track, and they don't know for sure whether Wando can go the 1.5 miles. And as we say, you know, he is a horse that has come through this grind in fantastic shape. Just watching him gallop yesterday, he exudes confidence, this horse. He has put on muscle. He has grown physically, mentally, statistically during the Triple Crown.
Jim, are you surprised that this horse right now is 1-5?
No, I'm not. I think a lot of people have mixed up hope and reality. I think a lot of people are really hoping that he wins the Triple Crown. I don't cheerlead for a Triple Crown. I'd love to salute this horse if he does it. I think he's on the cusp of greatness, but everything is talk when you lead up to the race. It's up to him to show us we wish him well.
Let's meet the entire field, beginning with the one horse, Strizzy, who, Jim, as you mentioned in that contenders piece, is accomplished on the grass, but what about the distance for this guy?
I have some concerns, and his winning attitude is something to look at also. He hasn't won a race since back in January, for goodness sakes. Now, he has good references, he's run against good horses, and he's been close by. And if you just ask me to give you his best scenario, it's probably at 1 mile or 1.125 miles with a big off-the-pace rush. Now he's going 1.5 miles. It's a little more testy for him, but he's in the hands of Woodbine's top turf trainer from last year. And Malcolm Pierce horses are just starting to come around, as evidenced this week by a win in the Wonder Where by Alpha Sapphire with Ramsamy aboard, and they team up on Stritzy today.
A late entrant in this race was Tracy's Tonka Toy. Gordy Colburn, the conditioner of this horse, and Jim, this one really improved with the addition of Lasix.
He's run on the turf in recent races and run adequately. In his most recent race, he decided to go up on the pace. The pace was rather slow. That helped him, and it hurt the chances of Stritzy, who was trying to rally. But he didn't stay the trip in contention. Finally, he finished 4th. Why would anyone like this horse? Because this race in the past has produced many upsets, and you just never know.
Number 4 is Arco's Gold, currently on the board at odds of 16-1. Your thoughts, Jim, on this horse on the turf?
Well, let's go back and say that last year he didn't lose. This year, he hasn't won. Why? Well, I think it's because he was behind in scheduling. He reportedly had a great winter in Florida, ready to come up here for gangbusters to attack this Triple Crown, and then became ill. So trainer John Ross, who has won this race in the past with John the Magician, started to redevelop him. Everything was just too quick, coming too quickly at him, but in the Prince of Wales he ran better. So he looks like a horse that tackles the turf for the first time. Probably has some stamina issues along with the rest of them. He has a brother that runs here at Woodbine called Agila, who can't run a step over 7/8 of a mile, I wouldn't say, on his best day. So he has some issues, but so do the others. He's a determined horse, and we'll see how he does on this particular day.
We do have one maiden in the field, and you're looking at him right now. That's the 5 Ballerinos Halo. Jim Mackley won the Breeders' Stakes back in 2001 with Sweetest Thing. Jim, this one did travel 1.25 miles here on the turf course on June the 30th.
And had a bit of a troubled trip. And that's not good news, because when you go 1.25 miles, you should avoid traffic. Paces are not overly quick. But, you know, some people may say, well, why would you put a maiden in a Triple Crown race? If you didn't have maidens in Triple Crown races, Scatter the Gold wouldn't have won. He was a non-winner when he got into the Queen's Plate. So There is merit in these horses. Some of them are just late developers. Don't forget, this race used to be in September, not in August. This is like a marketing ploy to market this for the public and for interest. But before, horses that were late developers loved to go in the last leg in the breeders because of their pedigrees and because of the fact that that's when they were coming to hand. And don't forget, the Canadian Triple Crown used to have the final 2 legs on the turf, not just the last leg. So things are run by marketing people these days, and it certainly has created more interest in the Triple Crown.
The 6 horse is Shoalwater, right now on the board at 10-1. Todd Cable, Jim, has won a lot of races at Woodbine, but he's 0 for 8 in the breeders.
And he knows what it's like to lose a Triple Crown bid. He was the rider in 2000 of Scatta the Gold, who came to the stretch with every chance to win the breeders, and his Triple Crown bid went out the window. And believe me, as the rider of the number 7 horse Wando earlier in his career, he must go in here with mixed emotions. It has taken a reconstituted Todd Cable to put this issue behind him and make something positive out of it. I know he's not letting him be bothered by it. You know, he's on a record pace, but there's Cable right there, and he's looking right at his mount, but you think that he might be glancing over at Wando and thinking how things unfold in this particular game.
The 2 is Colorful Judgment. This one, a son of Diocese, is starting for just the 4th time, Jim. So does inexperience hurt this horse?
It sure does. You know, when you talk about horses that are just joining the Triple Crown, what are the positives and the negatives? Well, the positives, the horse is nice and fresh. The negatives, he's not tough. Another negative, he has not carried the weight. This is a scale race, which means all horses carry 126 pounds in all of the Triple Crown races. These horses have built up some fancy records in races with 114 and 117 pounds, while all summer Wando's been carrying the big weight along with Shoalwater of 126.
Speaking of Wando, still at 1-5. Jim, his year did not get off to a smooth beginning by any means.
No, in the Achievement Stakes, he suffered quite a loss, and at low odds, and of course his year didn't end very well as a juvenile in the breeders, you know, he was a horse that was well regarded going down there, but he finished far back. But he's pulled himself up, and obviously he just wasn't ready for that. He is ready now. Rarely do you see a horse that is so much better than the other horses in the race, and yet there are still questions. Why? Well, what he is really good at is running on the main track, possibly the turf, and at shorter distances than today's venue. So there has to be some projection, and that leaves that lingering doubt in people's minds. Can he get the distance, and will the other ones bully him in the process?
Jim, your thoughts on the 8 Parasail?
I love the horse. I think he's going to be a terrific horse in time, but again, we're talking about horses that are lightly raced. They don't have that seasoning. Time and again, you see Herculean battles fought where there comes to a crucial point in the race, and the one with confidence and experience puts the other one away. Well, this horse is going to have to be extra good because he doesn't have that confidence and that experience yet. He's got to carry extra weight. He's got to run farther than he's ever run. He looks keyed and ready to go, and he will have a pivotal role in this race, and it might be the undoing of Wando.
There's a look at the field of 8. Right now, the second choice at 5-1 is number 1, Strizzy. And right now, Malcolm Pierce, the trainer of that horse, is with our Stacey Clark-Rogers.
Thanks very much, Jeff. Malcolm, your horse's second choice going into this race this afternoon. Could be the upset horse in the race. Tell us why.
Well, ever since for the last 2 months we've been aiming at this race. We fell off the Queen's Plate Trail when this horse wasn't running any good on the dirt. So, I mean, we've trained long and hard for this race. He's had 2 good seconds in his last 2 starts. So, I mean, we're going to give it a try. I think the 1.5 miles is within his distance, so keep our fingers crossed.
Malcolm, how do you see the race unfolding this afternoon?
Well, it sure looks like with the 3 of Sampson's horses, they're going to send Parasail out to make sure the pace is honest. So, you know, Wando's going to have to rate a little bit today behind him and won't have an easy lead to himself. So, you know, if he goes with him, that'll harm his chances. And my horse should be relaxed and be 5, 6, 7 lengths back and just waiting to pounce in the stretch.
Okay, well, good luck with that.
Thank you very much.
Malcolm Pierce, Jeff, training Stritzy from the 1 hole.
The horses are on their way towards the racetrack, and this is where Wando will start from post position number 7. Stay with us. Plenty more still to come on this Breeders' Stakes edition of Woodbine Post Time on Sportsnet. Favored as we speak at 1-5 is Wando. He's looking to become a Triple Crown winner. Lots of great stuff still to come, so stay with us.
The course. The boys of summer are swinging the
It's a mile and a half the distance on the lean green. Now, Jim, this is a very unique turf course. How do you see this race unfolding?
Well, I see a couple of important things. Velocity will be one of them, and the way the race is run will be another. And we've got Parasail from the outside, who will be a speed component. How that affects Wando is the big story in the race, and what Shoalwater might do also from Sampson Farm down along the inside. As they head down the slower part of the turf course on the backstretch and get to a point where they have a half mile to run, one can still expect Parasail to be there, but Wando making his bid to be within range. We've got Shoalwater still there and Tracy's Tonka Toy trying to make a bid, and we have horses that will make bids at various stages, including perhaps Arco's Gold on the outside as they come into the stretch. Well, here's the crunch. We saw it with Funnyside. He couldn't do it. Can Wando do it? Can he get by Parasail and Shoalwater in that Sampson trio and hold off any closers? It's up to Wando at this point as they come through the longest stretch in North America. And wouldn't you know it, waiting at the end is a potential prize of $800,000 if he wins this race. Wando, there's some questions, sure, but he is the fan favorite. Stritzi with a big rally, maybe to get second, and Parasail, many people thinking that he will stay on well.
Stritzi currently at 4-1 now, Jim. This horse is taking some late support.
I think he's the only real viable alternative to the heavy favorite, and you're likely to see more money pile on Wando at the end. He has $76,000 bet on him to win. He has $70,000 bet on him to show. And when you start looking at everybody else, the most any other horse has to bet to show is $5,000 on Stritzi, so you have $70,000 bet to show on Wando.
The two horse currently on the board at 20-1 is Colorful Judgment. As we look at Colorful Judgment, I just want to get some thoughts from Stacey Clark-Rogers and Sandy Hawley. Now, Stacey, Sandy has been in this position before. I wonder if you can ask him exactly what it's like in terms of a rider going into the starting gates with this much pressure that Patrick Husbands is dealing with.
Well, Jeff, you took the question right out of my mouth. Sandy and I were just discussing that. Sandy, how about some thoughts behind the gate?
You know what, if you're a rider, you have a horse that's relaxed, you want to tap them on the toes, have them on their toes. A horse that's too nervous, you want to have them relaxed. As for the rider, you take a deep breath and get ready for a mile and a half.
Okay, well, here's a good look at Wando. Here's a piece of trivia that was sent in by my good friend Paul Johnson. He said the second dam to Wando, that is the grandmother of Wando, is a half-sister to New Providence, who, Jeff and Jim, you'll be glad to know this, was the first Triple Crown winner. So there you go, some last-minute trivia on our hero, Wando.
Jim, what about the body language with the 7-horse Wando?
I think it's pretty good, and you know, the most important part about the turf course, we're running on virgin territory here. We haven't been on this part of the turf course. It's been cornered off so that races are run outside the temporary rail, but there are no rails today, just that inner rail, so this will be a beautiful, beautiful footing. And Paul Johnson obviously knows a lot about pedigree, and if you maybe go back one more step, you'll find in 1954 a horse called Queen's Own in the pedigree of Wando. He won the Breeders' Stakes in 1954.
Jim, this has to be intimidating for the horses. The gate starts right in front of the grandstand. It's jam-packed, and there was a big roar from this crowd as the horses made their way into the gate.
Well, it's very unusual for these horses. Some are handling it better than others. Wando was very good as he came up to the gate. He's getting just a little bit anxious now, and you can understand why. Let's get this going. When they bring him up to the gate, horses think they're going to run. They turned them around and took them back, so it was a bit of a false lead-up for the horses. Stritzi seems to be handling it very well. Shoalwater got a little bit warm. But don't forget, as we throw it up to Danny in just a moment, all the possible things that can happen here and that Danny's going to tell us about, especially the way Cable rides and the way Parasail puts the pressure on Wando early.
Here we go. The horses are in the gates for the Breeders' Stakes. Time now to go upstairs to the voice of Canadian racing. Good afternoon to track announcer Dan Loisel. Danny.
Well, Jeff, in 17 years, I don't think I've ever heard a horse been caught for on post parade, and that's exactly what happened with Wando a couple of minutes ago. Make no mistake, this is the people's horse. They are loading into the gate, and they're cheering again. And the crowd cheers as Wando goes into the gate. His date with destiny just a couple of minutes away. Tracy's Tonka Toy in the pink cap is the next one in. We await Arco's Gold in the red and white checkered silks, and on the outside in the white cap from the Sampson Farm, Parasail. Just two more to go, Arco's Gold and Parasail. And starter Shane St. Pierre will send them on their way. A field of 8 ready to contest this Breeder Stakes. Parasail will be the last horse to load, just being led into the stall now. Wando is 1-2. They're at the post. They're off in the Breeder Stakes. Stritzy. Shoalwater is showing early speed. Parasail has a job to do and jumps out to an early lead on the far outside. Parasail comes on the outside of Shoalwater. Wando is taken in hand in the early going. Colorful Judgment is toward the rail. Then we have Art Goes Gold, followed by Stritzy, who's reserved off the early speed. Then Ballerina's Halo and Tracy's Tonka Toy, 23-4 for the opening quarter mile. And they're heading up to the backstretch. It is Parasail, watched intently by Wando as they take that hairpin into the backstretch. Parasail has the lead. Wando is a tracking second. Shoalwater is third, 3.5 lengths off the lead. Colorful Judgment toward the hedges, fourth, has 6 lengths to make up. Then we have Art Goes Gold, Ballerina's Halo, Stritzy to the inside, and Tracy's Tonka Toy. Out on the lead is Parasail. Here comes a Shoalwater to the outside. Now Wando is pinned down on the hedge. Husbands backs away now. And it's still Parasail along the backstretch, leading by 3. Shoalwater second. Wando's back in third. Through 3 quarters and 13-2. Stritzy starts to make a move toward the leaders. Wando accelerates once again toward the hedge. Landry takes a peek back on Parasail, and Wando moves quickly at the fence. It's Parasail by a neck. Wando to the inside is in second position. Shoalwater is third. Stritzy looms large on the outside, fourth as they come to the 3/8 pole. Parasail travels well. Wando to the inside is second. Stritzy's coming with a run. Shoalwater's in there with a big shot. This is wide open as they come to the top of the stretch at Woodbine. Shoalwater, Parasail, Wando's wheel to the far outside. 2 furlongs away from Triple Crown immortality. Here comes Wando on the outside to take the lead. Shoalwater is back in second. They come to the final 16th. And Canada salutes the Breeders' Stakes winner and the Triple Crown champion. Wando was better than wonderful this afternoon. He was magnificent. Shoalwater was second, Colorful Judgment third, then Stritzy, Parasail, Ballerina's Halo, Tracy's Tonka Toy, and Art Goes Gold. What a thrilling race that was, Jeffrey.
That was just awesome, and the crowd loves it. They are clapping, people are jumping up and down as Wando, who by no means had a clean trip in this race, overcomes some distance liabilities and gets the job done. What a huge performance from this horse. Good horses can overcome anything, and this horse is now a Triple Crown champion. Patrick Husbands with the biggest victory of his life. Stay with us, some post-race thoughts coming your way. There's a look at Wando, the 7th Triple Crown winner. Knows Wando very well, is with me right now, and that's Todd Cable. Todd got the call today aboard Shoalwater. Todd, first of all, your trip today with Shoalwater.
I had a great trip, you know. I had the trip, I won it. We had Mobile the whole race, you know. He got out. I don't know what happened behind me. Somebody had to let him out, but we had him trapped down in there, and he doesn't like to be there. But he got out, and he showed he's the best horse today, and I take my hat off to all of them and congratulate him on a Triple Crown winner. It's nice to see. You know, we couldn't beat him. My horse showed up today. He ran a big race. He improved a lot, and just can't take nothing away.
On a personal note for you, is this victory really tough to take because you could have been in Patrick Husband's situation?
Not really. I got a few years left in my life of riding yet, and I'm sure I'll accomplish it.
Mobile is a horse that's very talented. Would you love to have another crack at Wando with Mobile?
Oh, absolutely. If Mobile ran in this race today, Wando doesn't win the race.
Some bold statements there.
That's a very straight statement. I mean, he's a 1.5 miles all day long, and I mean, Wando didn't have his big explosion today. You know, he just wore down and showed he was the best horse, and he was stopping the last part of the race. And
Todd,
Mobile would have definitely had him.
Todd, thank you very much for doing this, and we'll see you in the Breeder Stakes winner circle. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Okay, Todd Cable, nice enough to do this with us. And Jim, the spotlight today, it belongs to Wando, and he did not have a clean trip in this race.
No, it was a very cluttered trip, and certainly as we predicted, they ganged up. And right now they have about 3.5 furlongs to go. So here is Wando, where he doesn't really want to be, down on the inside. Here's Rob Landry, and he is riding Parasail. He's right where he wants to be. Here is Cable, and he's on Showwater. He's right where he wants to be, and here is Stritzy. So how does he get out of this jackpot? Well, I think Husbands has so much confidence in Wando right here that he just allows him to fall back on his own. And once he falls back and Landry shuts the door on him, then he will pick another path, and he will come in this path instead. And all of a sudden, it's just a sprint with a quarter mile to go. We've got Parasail falling back. We've got Stritzy, not good enough today. Colorful Judgment, not good enough today. Showwater, not good enough today. But really good, and I think finishing quite well with a final quarter at 25-1, is a true champion. And this is a beautiful horse, a homebred for Gustav Schickendance. A lot of Bayesians here today saluting Patrick Husbands. And the first man to congratulate Patrick Husbands was Todd Cable.
Jim, you've seen numerous races here at Woodbine. Have you ever seen a horse get a round of applause like this?
Well, you know, we have a new crowd of people here at Woodbine these days. These are a crowd of people that have been cultured through television and an appreciation for heroes in sports. And they have a hero to cheer here. They have a hero horse, and it's obviously coming in the same year with Seabiscuit the movie, and everyone cheering that one. Everyone knows Gus Schickendance has not been well with the strokes that he has had. Mike Kehoe has fought a brave battle to keep his job and do well. And all of this comes together with a great horse, a great jockey, great trainer, and obviously a great owner who goes down in the Canadian racing history books.
And Jim, this is perhaps just the beginning to a big day for Team Kehoe and Gustav Schickendance, because down in West Virginia, their other star of their stable, Mobile, is in action in about 25 minutes from now.
That's right. They split the stable stars today, obviously, so they would make sure they won this bonus. And Mobile going for a purse of $600,000 at about 5:15 today in West Virginia at Mountaineer Park. But make no mistake, we talked at the beginning of the Triple Crown that this is a great time for Canadian breeding, and great Canadian breeding. Gustav Schickendance owned the sire Langfier. He owned the dam. And believe me, this is a beautiful homebred that in years to come will flourish and promote Canadian breeding. And we'll be seeing the sons and daughters of this great individual in just a few years.
This is now a Triple Crown champion we're looking at. Up next, Jim, some dates perhaps in the States.
Well, indeed, he does have a big challenge in front of him, and one is thinking, obviously, of the Breeders' Cup Classic. He failed at the Breeders' Cup once, but he's a more mature, he's a better horse. As I mentioned, he has grown physically, he has grown mentally, he has grown statistically. He just keeps getting better. Now, this is a horse that you have to, really give credit to. People were really down on this horse that he couldn't even run 1.25 miles, but he ran 1.5 miles here. Greatness in this game is measured by what you accomplish and the runners that you are able to beat. Well, he's beaten everyone. There's still some, obviously, critics saying that he hasn't beaten too much yet, but he has done it with elan.
I must admit, Jim, when I watched this race, I was nervous as the horses went around that first turn because Patrick Husbands had a big hold on this horse. I wasn't sure if the horse was relaxing as much as Patrick wanted him to.
He didn't relax out of the gate. He threw his head 2 or 3 times. He wanted to go. But I think, as I said on the far turn, that Husbands had enough confidence in his mount to take him back and restart him. It looked like the horse had enough confidence in the jockey in the early going. If this is what you want to do, let's do it together.
What about Todd Cable's statement that if Mobile was in this race, he would have won? What do you think about that?
Hypothetical.
That's true, because the race was not with Mobile in it, and Wando was in the race, and Wando is a Triple Crown champion. Second best was Shoalwater. Jim, your thoughts on that performance today?
Todd Cable rode a very good race. He was part of a posse to take down Wando, and they did not succeed. They tried their best, and I think it looks like people are really appreciative of this horse because he's overcome the elements that were put in his way. Horses trying to beat him, riders trying to maneuver to beat him, And I think that that looks like why this horse is so popular with the people.
Now, last week we saw this horse come over for some paddock schooling, and the first thing you said to me, he's growing into a man. What did you mean by that?
On a workout that he had before the Prince of Wales, July the 13th, he had by far his best physical appearance and demeanor. And he had that work just in front of him. He just ate it up. He went to the Prince of Wales of 1, and he became a man. We often talk about the Triple Crown being the rites of passage. Well, he went from a young colt to a real good horse at the end of this trip. And not all horses do it, as we outlined at the top. We've had a flourish of horses that have lost the Triple Crown over the years. We can celebrate a Triple Crown winner.
What about the final time of the race, 1:28 and 3?
Final time of the race is pretty good. The turf still has some give to it. And don't forget that Wando was not asked to run the entire trip. He really only ran a quarter of a mile when he was put in the clear through the stretch. If this was just an exhibition from horse against time, it looked like he could have gone much quicker, but it was not needed, and the love affair continues with the betting public.
Patrick Husbands has a big smile on his face, and deservedly so. A job well done. I'm sure that Mike Keogh has a big sigh of relief right now as well, and currently he is with Stacey Clark-Rogers.
Well, I'm not sure that Mike Keogh has any voice left this afternoon, but Mike, let's talk about your race. Your horse just dominated in this race, and they really tried to ruin it for you.
Yeah, he kind of got ganged up on pretty good, but that's horse racing. You know, I'd probably done the same thing if I'd have been in anyone else's shoes, and I had that many runners.
Okay, now let's talk about going into this race, Mike. Were you a little bit nervous? I mean, a lot of pressure coming into this race. This is a Triple Crown, the first one in 10 years.
Yeah, I'm always nervous, but especially going with a chance to win the Triple Crown, yeah.
Okay, Mike, let's talk about the race coming down the stretch when Wando came to the outside, the emotions that you felt.
Well, once I saw him switch him to the outside, I knew he had a lot of horse, and it was... my foot's hurting from stamping the ground real hard.
Okay, well, a job well done. Mike, congratulations on history.
Thank you very much.
Mike Keogh, now let's go over to the star right here of the moment, Patrick Husbands. All of Barbados is here this afternoon. Some thoughts on today's race?
First of all, I've got to tell Mike and his whole crew, and we want to shake hands for putting me on this horse. And it's a great feeling. It's a blessing for any rider to get on a horse like him. I mean, he just do everything you wanted to do, and he respond when you want to respond. So I must say this is a fantastic feeling. I achieved winning the 3 big races I really want to win in my whole riding career, and I always done in 1 year. It's a great feeling, Stacey.
Okay, now Patrick, let's talk about the race specifically. I mean, they did gang up on you out there in the race. What were your thoughts during the race?
You know, Stacey, I ride this horse now twice, and I tell Mike I'm not want to disappoint this horse, but I mean, we're going so far, like you can see if we're getting relaxed. So I was behind Rob the whole way, trying to get him relaxed, and then I looked to the left, I looked to the right, and you know what? I was getting raped, but me and my horse survived it.
Okay, now Patrick, any thoughts that maybe at one moment you thought you weren't going to get there?
You know, I had to play a little cat and mouse game by the 5-8 pole going in the last turn. I mean, the race started backed up. My horse, so when I get to the outside, I know there's no way they could beat him. I wanted to say, Barbados, the thing that Wando had 126. I had a whole country backing me today, and who's in Canada with a hospitality. And I must say, Barbados has done a lot for me to send the whole camera crew, to send everybody here for me. I want to say, Barbados, this is a blessing. I win the Triple Crown.
There you go. Well, 2 countries behind you now, Patrick. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Stacey.
Patrick Husbands off with the press, Jeff, and a big effort.
Jim, you've seen some Triple Crowns, you've seen some good horses win this race, and Wando is now the 7th Triple Crown champion.
You know, he has a lot of style about him, and he has a lot of presence, and he has a lot of upside, and that's terrific for the fans of horse racing, because they are going to see this star in action for some time to come. And obviously that is very, very good news. Mike Keogh worried about going into the race and people weren't giving his horse enough credit. Well, the credit is very audible today, because everyone seems to be on the side of Wando. He improved his turf stride today, maybe an A+. He handled it well. So we have a horse to celebrate, not to cheerlead for before the race, but to celebrate after.
Let's check out the prices for the 113th edition of the Breeders' Stakes. The favorites was Victorious Wando, $3, $250, $210. Shoalwater was second, $540, $360. Colorful Judgment third, $570. The 7-6 Exactor pays $14.80. There is a look at a horse that now is a Triple Crown champion. His name is Wando, and his Papa Langmuir sure is proud.